There is a coil of copper tubing sitting on a hardware store shelf right now that costs under $2 per foot. That coil, built into a simple panel and mounted on any south-facing roof surface, heats your entire water supply through winter using nothing but sunlight. No gas line connected, no electricity consumed, no utility meter spinning, no monthly bill arriving. Just copper, black paint, glass, and the same physics that Roman engineers understood 2,000 years before the first energy company ever existed. American households spent an average of $1,200 last winter keeping interior temperatures livable through the cold months. The copper panel that replaces that cost builds in a single afternoon for under $15 in materials. Available at any hardware store without a single permit, licensed contractor, or inspection required. It heats water to 175 degrees, using only ambient daylight, with no moving components and no wiring of any kind. Roman engineers applied this exact thermal principle across an entire empire. American builders installed it into thousands of homes through the 1940s and 50s. Then somewhere between 1970 and 1980, it disappeared completely from building codes, contractor training, and public awareness simultaneously. Almost no homeowner alive today has ever been shown this method exists or been told why it vanished. Welcome to Buried Camping. This is where we excavate every technique that billion-dollar industries spent decades burying under marketing budgets and building code revisions. If this knowledge matters to you, hit subscribe now and turn the bell on so the next vault reaches you the moment we open it. The story behind this method does not begin inside a government research facility or a corporate laboratory. It begins underneath the stone floors of a Roman villa built in the 1st century. Roman engineers designed and constructed the hypocaust system across buildings throughout the empire. Stone channels carried heated air beneath floor surfaces and through thick interior walls. Entire structures maintained comfortable interior temperatures through brutal European winters with no open fire burning inside any living space, no smoke-filling rooms, no wood hauling required, no combustion happening anywhere inside the occupied structure. Pure radiant heat rising silently upward from the ground beneath every foot. When archaeologists excavated Pompeii through the 1800s, they uncovered copper pipe fittings, still structurally intact beneath the volcanic debris, 2,000 years underground with zero meaningful corrosion and zero structural decay. Roman military engineers carried this thermal knowledge across Europe as legions, constructed winter garrison camps and permanent forts throughout the coldest northern territories. By the medieval period that accumulated, knowledge had been completely erased from common practice, buried under centuries of coal dependence, open hearth fires, and wood smoke filling every interior space people occupied through winter. Then in 1870, a Scottish engineer named Bofield reconstructed the ancient thermal method from foundational principles, using copper pipe as his primary material. Copper conducts heat at 401 watts per meter per Kelvin. That rating represents the highest thermal conductivity of any common metal available at commercial scale. Nothing moves heat through a structure the way copper does at ordinary temperatures. Bofield tested his reconstructed system inside a Glasgow manufacturing facility through a complete Scottish winter. Workers who had never experienced genuine warmth through a cold working season found consistent, comfortable heat, distributed evenly through every section of the building, even when outdoor. Temperatures dropped well below freezing outside the walls. The system required only heated water circulating through copper pipe runs. No electricity consumed, no gas burned, no monthly billing of any kind. By 1920, this thermal approach had crossed the Atlantic and established itself in American residential construction. Builders began specifying passive copper heating systems in homes across the Northeast, the Midwest, and rapidly expanding suburban developments throughout the country. Before we continue, I want to give you direct access to something genuinely useful right now. Inside the complete Buried Camping vault, we have assembled everything the energy industry quietly removed from public conversation about this method. Full copper solar panel blueprints, with exact dimensions and complete materials lists. Step-by-step construction instructions any homeowner can execute across a single weekend. The specific installation adjustment that doubles usable output from any copper panel. Historical documentation on passive thermal systems that disappeared from building codes after 1970. A complete yearly savings calculation showing exactly what this method is worth annually against current utility rates. Everything collected in one place with zero padding in every page, built for immediate practical application. The link is sitting in the description right now. But stay here because this video has barely started. And what comes next reframes everything you have ever been told about home heating costs. In 1945, entire planned neighborhoods rose across Levittown and similar post-war developments throughout the country. Every home in those early developments included copper radiant heating embedded directly into the concrete floor slab. Heated water circulated through copper pipe runs in the slab continuously. The floor surface itself functioned as a silent radiator, heating every room from ground level upward. Warmth distributed evenly across every corner of every room, without forced air movement, without drafts, without the dry blowing heat that modern duct systems push from ceiling vents. No cold wall surfaces, no temperature stratification leaving feet cold while heads overheat. Families living in those homes paid a fraction of what neighbors in conventionally heated houses spent on energy every single month through winter. Some of those copper radiant systems, installed in 1952, are still operating without a single component replaced or repaired. 70 years of consistent, reliable heat delivery with zero maintenance interventions and zero system failures across 7 decades of continuous seasonal use. If you have followed this far, you already understand. Residential heating at a deeper level than the overwhelming majority of homeowners paying full utility rates right now. Share this with someone still spending $1,200 annually on something that should cost almost nothing to run. Everything the industry buried on this method is inside the buried camping vault. Link in the description below. Now, here is where the numbers make the suppression impossible to explain away with any reasonable justification. Copper thermal conductivity measures 401 watts per meter per Kelvin at standard temperatures. Structural steel conducts heat at only 50 watts per meter per Kelvin under identical conditions. The plastic PEX tubing, specified in virtually every new residential construction project built in America today, conducts heat at just 0.19 watts per meter per Kelvin. Essentially zero useful thermal transfer. Copper moves heat more than 2,000 times faster than the plastic tubing currently installed in most new American homes. That difference is not a marginal performance gap between two similar materials. That is a completely different performance category. A copper coil transfers heat 1,000 times more effectively than standard plastic alternatives. A $15 DIY copper panel built across one afternoon heats a full residential water storage tank through daily sunlight exposure. Residential water heating accounts for 30 to 40% of the average American household energy bill every month. Eliminate that cost component and you have already reduced your total annual energy expenditure by nearly half before addressing anything else. Research published by heating engineers confirms that properly installed passive copper thermal systems reduce water heating costs by up to 80%. Annually across most American climate zones, the system maintains usable heat output, even when outdoor ambient temperatures drop to 35 degrees. Overcast sky conditions still produce meaningful thermal output through copper panels because diffuse daylight carries sufficient energy for the conversion process. So why does essentially no homeowner know this works today? Why does no building contractor teach this method? Why did residential builders across America stop specifying copper radiant heat completely after 1980? The answer sits inside a single number: $300 billion per year. That figure represents the total annual revenue of the American residential energy market. Every gas furnace sold creates a dependent, paying customer across decades of monthly billing. Every gas line run to a new home guarantees a meter reading and an invoice, arriving every 30 days indefinitely. The energy industry does not fundamentally sell warmth to households. It sells structured ongoing dependence on a metered supply. A passive copper solar thermal panel eliminates that dependence at the source. You cannot obtain a patent on sunlight striking a copper surface painted black. You cannot install a billing meter on hot water rising naturally through copper pipe by convection. You cannot construct a profitable service contract business around a coil of tubing and a pane of glass. The entire financial architecture of the residential energy industry requires that every household remain permanently connected to a metered supply. It requires the monthly statement, the quarterly maintenance visit, the annual system inspection, the eventual equipment replacement cycle. A $15 copper panel mounted on a south-facing roof surface undermines every layer of that revenue structure simultaneously. It was never going to appear in any building school, curriculum, or receive promotion through any industry publication.